You want to talk about these apes?
Is it Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes? I
Yeah.
keep wanting to say like Kingdom of the Crystal Skull of the Apes or something.
It's a really great film series. This latest iteration of Planet of the Apes. Probably the worst thing about it is the titles of the movies. It's Rise, Dawn, War, Kingdom. There.
And to be honest, I don't remember much about war. I remember it was kind of like the apes are in a concentration camp. Yeah, that's all I kind of remember. But.
Yeah, it was the end of that the Caesar trilogy. Unlike the kind of costumed apes of the 70s and beyond, and of course the Tim Burton one that was, that not a great movie, but I'll tell you, I think that those ape costumes by Rick Baker with the mouthpieces and all that stuff, I think the apes in that movie look really fucking cool. I remember there was Michael Clark Duncan played a gorilla.
Oh yeah, that looked awesome.
Yeah, and I remember he like growled at somebody, he went like, "Wah!" And his maw looked perfect, and the only CG was just to make his mouth go a little bit more open, so just to kind of accentuate features. And then Tim Roth, remember he played like the chimp general.
Oh yeah, that Tim Roth was great.
Good.
Yeah, there's a lot of like good visuals to that, but yeah, the
movie sucks and falls apart. Now I'm gonna find myself just defending this movie. Paul Giamatti plays a really funny like orangutan in the movie.
Oh yeah. I mean,
that movie's not all bad. It's not all bad.
It's interesting. That's interesting.
Don't slag it off just to sound cool. But these movies are much better. In the first movie, James Franco is like a scientist. It's probably like it's the goofier of the several movies.
But it's not bad. Like I will defend the first one too.
I know I like it too, but I think just the casting choice of James Franco kind of throws me off a little bit. He's developing some sort of like a medicine or something for the apes. He's testing on the apes.
Yeah, it's supposed to be for like Alzheimer's or something.
For Alzheimer's, right? Yeah. Yes, because not John. What the hell's his name?
John Lithgow.
John Lithgow. Thank you. I was going to say John C. Reilly. It's not for me. It wasn't me who did it. I don't have Alzheimer's. I'm just a bad guy in a big old trash pile. So, John Lithgow has Alzheimer's in it. And so he has a pet ape named Caesar, who then has like a rapid, mental leaps, culminating in this like, sort of second act moment where he goes, no!
Take your stinking paw off me, you damn dirty ape!
Yeah,
and it's really, it's really unsettling. I remember being in the theater, being like, I was like, that was so effective, just showing me an animal grow super intelligent and like discover language and freak out his peers.
Yes,
it's unsettling. It's much more unsettling than this because this is expected. But do you remember like watching your kids like discover language?
It's crazy, yeah. Especially Gabriel like spoke early, and he like would learn a bunch of words every day, and we were like keeping track, and I'm like, once it got to 100 words, we were like, whoa, that's crazy.
I will not have that kind of gutter language in this house.
It's nuts.
It's crazy.
Yeah, their brain just latches on to like, how do I communicate? Gloria would just, she would babble at us louder if we were talking amongst ourselves. She just wanted to get in on the conversation.
Yes.
It's a child's costume.
Oh, really?
Anna and Elsa.
Oh, look at that. So, so that was that movie, and then he kind of releases the gas and makes the other apes smarter, and they kind of start to do their own civilization, and it causes a virus that starts to kill most humans and make apes super smart. So that goes into the second movie, where now there's kind of two civilizations, one that's like a survivor civilization of humans and kind of a developing civilization of apes. This is actually personally my favorite of the four. I just think the narrative setup is really nice. And at this point, the apes are kind of developed, but most of them don't even have language yet. They're still signing to each other. Gary Oldman's in the movie too.
Yeah, Gary Oldman, and was it Koba is a really interesting like villain, and yeah,
because he was like one of Caesar's like buddy, or like he was like an abused ape, in the first movie, but Caesar is like still their thought leader. And then by the third movie, I remember thinking the third movie is an allegory for all human suffering. It was like, who was the bad? There was a big bad guy. Oh, it was fucking Woody Harrelson was the bad guy.
Oh, okay. I don't remember anything about this movie. Yeah.
That one was a little more forgettable. It was Matt Reeves directed, I think, that one and Dawn. Then he went on to do the Batman. Spoilers, Caesar dies. And so that's kind of the end of the Caesar story. And then this jumps forward like, I don't know, 4, 5, 6 generations.
Yeah, it doesn't specify, but it's many generations later. And it starts off with like an ape village somewhere, and it seems to be separate from other ape things. It's its own little village with its own culture, and it starts off with like a coming of age ceremony where these three ape friends are like, they have to get eagle eggs, and it's very much like the beginning of, you know, any sort of hero's journey where you have the main character Noah, who is a little more courageous and goes to the top to like the higher nest to get an egg and stuff like that. So it's a very basic story, but it's really well done. It works.
Yeah, humans, they've like lost the ability to speak. They're extremely rare. The apes almost never come across humans. His clan is into falconry. They interact with birds, and like birds are very important to their culture. We're going to spoil the whole movie, so if you haven't seen it, you know, don't keep watching.
It's good. If you're into apes, watch it.
This big group of marauders comes in and just burns their whole village of apes. That burns their whole village down looking for the human.
Noah, the main character's father, he has like a strained relationship with him. He thinks he hates him, but like during this attack, he like basically like saves him, and kind of course, at the last moment shows like how much he actually cares about him and all that. And so they release all the falcons, and the big gorilla guy kills his father, and then he gets injured and passes out basically, and everyone else gets captured.
It's kind of got like a Hamlet setup almost.
Yeah, that hero's journey type of thing where, you know, it happens in, you know, Star Wars where Aunt Beru and Uncle Owen are shot and killed and stuff.
You're kicked out of the home, right?
You're kicked out of the home, and he goes on a journey. He meets a wise ape who teaches him the ways of Caesar. It's an orangutan, of course. That's a good character right there.
I loved him.
And it also brings in all the lore. So he's teaching him about Caesar. It has the symbol of the window from the first movie, and
yeah, this Caesar ends up functioning as, you know, a Christ-like figure or like a Messiah figure, or maybe the better way to describe it is a figure that an entire several generations of people have civilized around. The movie opens with the burial and cremation of Caesar, and then we leap forward. So it reminds you of like the death of this guy informs the culture, you know, hundreds of years later, in theory.
it's like the whole movie becomes about rediscovering tradition, you know.
That's the key theme, actually, is, and this wise orangutan is like, don't forget. And they're discovering the idea of books and the written word, and how is it that we're going to make sure that important ideas are not forgotten? The reason that the Marauders burnt down the village is because they have like a monarch who is trying to just unite all the clans into one giant kingdom, and all of his followers are carrying the name of Caesar. So he's like a charlatan. They're carrying the name of Caesar. They're saying that they do everything in the name of Caesar. And then the sacrilegious part is he says that he is Caesar. So he's like, well, he was the first elder and I'm an elder. Therefore, I'm the God King, right? Like I'm your religious leader in addition to your government leader. It's something I've always liked about the Planet of the Apes series, like even the old ones, is there is this kind of fundamental truth, which is whoever has power has the ability to exploit it, therefore inevitably will exploit it. You know, absolute power corrupts absolutely. And so if you have access to all the resources and you have access to high intelligence and you have access to weaponry and you have access to the food, right? You call all the shots. And so tyranny will exist amongst the powerful. And so like, what's the one thing that's going to stop you from abusing power? Well, a worldview or an organizing principle, a set of values. I don't think it's a weakness of the movie that it's using time-told tropes, you know?
Because it does it very well, and also it's like I just watched this after Rings of Power, so it's like,
holy shit,
you know, this is beautiful. This is the most beautiful thing in the world.
That's the cutest fucking thing I've ever seen in my entire life.
And also, yeah, it's just I think the character of Noah is done very well. I think it treats the property very seriously. It's not careless with it. And the story, yeah, it's got a good hook to it. And so the Caesar Proximus, he's captured the clans and he's trying to open this big door to a facility that houses like a bunch of weaponry, and he wants to use it to, you know, make himself stronger, make him basically invincible. So Caesar and this girl who they find out can talk, and she's actually part of a secret sect of humanity that's underground. that is trying to also like access information in that vault to communicate with other people around the world that might still be alive. So she sneaks them into that facility to basically like get that information, and then they want to destroy it before Caesar Proximus gets all those weapons. So they like rig some explosives, they blow up the ocean wall, and all the water rushes in, which causes the basically the last action scene where, you know, all the apes are trying to climb up higher. All the ape friends that were captured were trying to climb up higher out of there, and eventually it's a final confrontation, of course, with Caesar Proximus and Noah. You know, there's a scene where he finally kind of accepts the role of his father, and during that moment the eagle lands on his accepts him, and then he's able to use that to, you know, defeat Caesar Proximus. Come on. That's a good story.
You fulfill your father's legacy and you destroy evil. Yeah, it's like, you know, this is what stories are, you know, a lot of the time. And there's also a nice theme in there of like, should we destroy technology? Should we put an end to these things that are always going to be perpetually abused? You know, because the human proves herself to not be super trustworthy. I mean, she's self-interested, and he has a civilization to protect as well. And so it's all there. And I thought nicely paced. I really like the kind of samurai's journey of the second act with the wise, you know, the orangutan.
Yes.
When he hands the symbol of Caesar to him, he goes, "This is important." And one of his dying words, spoilers, that he's like, important. And, you know, in other words, Noah's journey is like, I have to figure out what's important. And when I've figured out what's important, and when I hold to what's important, I will have fulfilled my father's legacy. I'll become a man, and this is what stories are made out of. And this CG, I think we're taking it for granted. This is the most remarkable fucking CG you'll ever see.
And I think that they said on the DVD there'll be a cut where it's completely without special effects, but so you'll see underneath it. But yeah, it's basically an animated movie, you know, and it looks phenomenal.
So I say go see it and watch them all, even that forgettable third one and the slightly goofy first one with John Lithgow. But definitely that second one, and definitely this one.
And to me, the best part about this, and what makes me hopeful, is that the director, Wes Ball, is going to be directing the Legend of Zelda movie. If he can just hopefully lead it in the same way as this one, because a nice basic hero's journey for Legend of Zelda will be fine, you know?
Yeah, I mean, your project's only going to be as good as its story, so they got to figure out what the hell the story is with Zelda. So I remember...
Yeah.
I mean, people like the Batman, and that's great and all, but I remember seeing Dawn of the Planet of the Apes and hearing that guy was going to direct the Batman. I was like, ooh, this is going to be really good. And no, Dawn was better. It's so funny to think back to just like the sci-fi conceit of the 70s movies, but there is just something kind of very workable about like, what if the animals and the humans were swapped and now tell the story? You know, it lends itself to powerful stories about the nature of power and intelligence. The movie didn't make a whole lot of money, but you know, it made almost 400 million.
Yeah, I mean, at least made its budget back and probably marketing. So I think there's still juice in this. So
yeah, I think it's so cool. Like, we're 4 movies in, and we're not to the point where the apes are in clothing.
Subscribe to Red Cow Entertainment on Patreon for full episodes every other week.